there is enough market for everyone. And this is my methodology for teaching it, is that you really don't have to focus so much on competition in the beginning. In your stages of startup, focus on mastering what you know, building out amazing products and services that are going to deliver massive value, and figure out how to attract the right audience. And you will win every single time.
Welcome back to ASCC, where people give freely from their overflowing buckets to fill others up. So ever feel like you have big dreams but no idea how to turn them into action? Well, maybe you're overwhelmed trying to figure out funding, branding, or even where to start. So Cynthia gets it, and she's here to help. With 28 years of experience, she's worked with entrepreneurs just like us to tackle those struggles and turn messy ideas into thriving businesses. So everyone, Cynthia Ellis. So Cynthia, some questions that I'd love for us to tackle today, right? Is advice for startups, building sustainable nonprofits, because you've done that, empowering minority women entrepreneurs, which I'm confident if it applies to minority women entrepreneurs, everybody can, it'll be good for everybody. Coaching and community support, and turning ideas into action. So Cynthia, you often say, don't let your sticky notes sit idle, turn them into strategic plans, right? I love that.
I do.
What's your process for helping entrepreneurs take their like scattered ideas that are all over the place? I like, if you can see my board right now, I'm like, right? And then in front of me, sticky notes. How can we like take these scattered ideas that are all over the place and turn them into actionable steps? What advice do you have for us on that?
Awesome, Bettina. Thank you for the beautiful introduction. Let's talk about that. And thank you so much for having me today. I don't want to be remiss to tell you how much I appreciate you providing the platform with this leverage. So it's going to open up doors for many people to do many things. I'll just say that, but I digress because I'm already a huge fan of yours. So here's how I like to take all of those messy ideas, right? And I want to preface this by saying that I commend anyone who is bold enough to share their ideas with someone else just to get them out of their head, because sometimes we have a rainbow of amazing things going on up there, and sometimes we're too timid or too shy to share for whatever reason, because we're all wired differently, right? So kudos to the people who have the rainbow of ideas and who have what I call entrepreneur brain. And you have all of these lovely, amazing things stirring within you. But the trick to it is, Bettina, like you said, how do you go from having that rainbow in your head, having the rainbow of Post-its on the wall, to actually having actionable items and a plan to go along with that to see it come to fruition? And so that is where I specialize, just like you said. So for me, it isn't just a motto, it's something that I live by. And so one of the things that I try to first initiate with entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, is the fact that it has to be a mantra, right? It has to be more than just a motto. It has to be a mantra. So we're going to live by this thing. And when I say
define mantra, like you say, the difference, it can't just be a motto. It's got to be a mantra.
It's got to be a mantra. So when I say that, I mean, it has to be a way of life, right? It has to be actionable steps, things that you're actively not just thinking about, but things that you're ready to put feet on, things that you're ready to put steps to. And whenever we start getting ready to leave footprints for something, it becomes a mantra. It's a way of life for us. We aren't only just thinking it, but we're ready to digest it and turn it into something that's tangible.
It becomes your obsession almost.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
It's an obsession. Like you wake up and you're like, that mantra is in your head. You're like,
it's there. It's there. Like,
yes. You go to bed and you're like, it's still going there. You're like,
it's still there.
Yeah.
Energy, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing that I often discuss with my clients, is that I am one of these coaches. There are some people that will tell you, don't work with coaches who tell you to pursue your passion. I am that coach to fear, because I'm going to tell you that I want you to pursue your passion wholeheartedly, because I really do feel like that's where your fulfillment comes from.
Mhm.
And okay, so I'm gonna back up from coaching. Now I'm gonna answer the question because I have a habit of doing that.
No, no,
So
no, no, you're good. We can always come back here. So, like, I'm all about the rabbit holes.
please circle back. I try not to
Mm,
chase rabbits, but coaching gets so good, and
mhm.
just the information and the facts about what's actually happening, the
Yeah.
psychology of it behind business and entrepreneurs, right? So
Favorite
you approach
topics, by the
me.
way. Favorite topics. We can just go
Thank
there.
you.
If we don't cover the rest of the stuff today, that's okay because we can talk another time. Like it's okay. Like
Oh,
this is good stuff because it's all in your head. Like I truly
thank
believe
you.
success is in your head. And if we can
Thank you.
conquer the drunk monkey per se in our head,
Oh
right?
my gosh. Yeah, and
We can
it's a
conquer the
barrel of
world.
them. It's not just one, it's
It's a barrel of
a
monkeys.
barrel of drunk monkeys. Let's just say that. Then they're having issues hooking up with each other to reach the top, right? That's what we have going on in our brains,
Oh
like
my goodness.
metaphorically speaking. Like, I'm
Do
so
they
serious,
still
but
have
then
that
doing so much
do they
fun. Oh
still
my
have that
gosh.
barrel of monkeys game around? I haven't seen that for a minute. That's a
See,
good game.
I hadn't seen it. I love it. I love it. I miss the old games like that we used to play as kids. You miss that
Mhm.
stuff.
Mm.
So here's how we start, right?
Okay.
The first thing that I have with you, if you come to me and say, Cynthia, I have these ideas, I don't know what to do with them. I want a business, whatever it is, we're going to have what I call a breakthrough strategy session. Now, we are basically in that session, we are brain dumping because I've got to get you to vocalize what's going on in your head. And once we vocalize it, once we have it out on paper, once we've said it out of our mouths, once we've got it on a board, then we can actually begin to visualize and kind of kind of shift the moving parts to put them in place to make everything make sense.
Can
So brain
that
dump comes first.
that sounds like I got a box of a jigsaw puzzle. I just take them
Uh-huh.
all out and I start sorting them.
Dump it out. Thank you. It's the concept, right?
Okay. So I
It,
start
it is
sorting
that
them.
is literally the concept.
And like I've got my corners over here, I've got the edges over here, I've like light colors over here, and then we can start putting them together.
Then we can start putting
Because
things
right now
together.
they're like scattered all over the place, and I'm like trying to figure out how to put some pieces together,
Oh yeah.
but
So
we gotta
let's
get them
stay on
organized.
that.
I
Let's
got
stay
it.
on that
Okay.
puzzle analogy for a minute, right? Let's
Okay.
stay there. When you dump a puzzle out, I had an older sister, God rest her soul, who taught me how to work puzzles. We were 8 years apart. And one of my fondest memories of her was we would dump these huge puzzles out. We started out with 24 piece, then we went up to 36 piece, then we went to 100 piece, and then 500 pieces, and then finally we reached like thousands of pieces in putting these puzzles together. So
Ooh.
the first thing we did was we dumped the puzzle pieces on the table, like you said,
Mhm.
and then you're looking to organize colors. Some of the puzzle pieces are turned face down. You have no idea what the heck they are. So you have to flip those things over. And so when we begin to talk and you start telling me about these ideas you have, me as a business coach, one of my amazing things that I can do is help you flip those puzzle pieces over, right?
Yeah.
Because you may not exactly understand, where does this go? Where does this fit in? I know that this seems like something that I want to do, but should I be doing it now? Should I be doing it later? And we can flip that puzzle piece over and say, hey, okay, it belongs on this edge, this corner, upper right quadrant, lower left quadrant, whatever.
Yeah.
Or it may not go with this puzzle altogether. Maybe it got mixed in with the wrong puzzle and we need to start another table over here. And that's okay because that happens, right? So the brain dump is absolutely first. So I love the puzzle analogy. It just brought up a beautiful memory. So thank you for that, Bettina. But so you're with me here.
Yes,
So
I'm with
brain
you.
dump is number one.
Like when you said, I was like, yes, I get this. Okay, what's next? What's next? We sort our puzzle. We
So
flipped over. We're organized all our puzzle pieces. Now what's next?
yeah. So, and then we've got it organized. So, what we then create is we organize our goals, right?
Hmm.
We begin to organize. And when we start talking about organization, we have to lead with prioritization. So, we have to lead with the things that are most important. So, when we're talking about goals, then we narrow down, what is it that's most important to you? So, are you pursuing this business because you need financial support? Are you pursuing it because you feel purpose driven? Are you pursuing it because you want to uplift your community? Are you pursuing it because you want to leave a legacy for your children and grandchildren? So then we start identifying those overarching goals, which means we're finding out the why behind your business. So that's what comes next. We've got the thoughts out, we've brain dumped, we've organized them. Now let's figure out, why is all of this stuff in your head, and why do you feel like you even need to do it? Because
Right.
the seriousness of why you feel like you want to dive into something is going to determine how we prioritize everything.
Yes.
Because if you tell me that community building is your number one priority, then we're not going to focus on pricing your products and services first. We're going to figure out, we're going to start structuring, okay, what type of programs are going to work best for the community that you want to reach to make the impact that you want to make.
Right.
And then we talk about, outside of that, okay, what type of financial responsibilities or what type of financial support do you need to help you carry that vision out? And how can we make sure that you continue to get that funding or find ways to innovatively fund those ideas to keep it something sustainable for long periods of time?
Because if you
Not
go
just
broke,
sustainable, but
it ain't
also
going to
scalable.
work. Yeah, you're
That's,
right.
thank you. Thank you. That's
Yes, I
it.
can be as
I'm like,
passionate as you want about, growing your community, but if you become homeless, then
in the process,
it
it's like,
ain't.
hey,
What are we doing?
it's not jiving. Yeah, that's one of my favorite questions. Like, what are we doing here? And a lot of I have some really close stakeholders in my community that I partner with. My nickname in my community sometimes behind closed doors is the Dream Crusher.
Oh, tell me more. That's but there's I you know what? The people in my life that I respect the most are the ones that tell me no.
Tell you the truth. Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
honestly, if you do not have someone in your circle that is close enough to you to tell you no, to say no, if you're
Mhm.
surrounded by yes people, you're in a really bad spot
Yeah.
because you're comfortable and you're not going to grow from where you are, at least not at an accelerated rate. It will take you much longer to grow surrounded by yes people, because you're going to eventually hear a no. It just won't be from the people closest to you in your circle. And it could take you a longer time to get around to somebody actually saying, I don't think that's going to work. And
Right,
then you
or you're
actually
gonna
being,
figure it out the hard way that it ain't gonna work,
that's
right?
it. It's
Or
like,
like sometimes maybe like just, okay, the way you're doing it will not work, but
yes,
let's figure out, set up some strategies, put some strategies in place so that
right.
so you can avoid those pitfalls. So that
Exactly.
it can,
Exactly.
so maybe you get some bumps and bruises, but you don't wind up in the ER in the process.
Thank you. Hurt and bruised up and black and blue. And I love that you said avoid pitfalls, because if you're following me on any of my social media platforms, you will hear me say those two words all the time: avoid pitfalls, avoid pitfalls.
Mhm.
That's what I help people do, because there's been so much that I've seen in small business startups over the
Mhm.
past 11 years. A lot of people ask me sometimes, why don't you narrow your niche down even further? And I'm like, I can, but one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that any business, any industry, within the first 0 to 3 years, every business, whether you're going globally from inception or whether you're a mom and pop store on the corner, every single business that starts in the first 0 to 3 years, you're thinking about the same things. You are doing the exact same
Like
things.
what?
You are
What are they all doing, and what are some pitfalls that that if they don't intentionally avoid, that pit
exactly.
is in every in for that pit is there for everybody.
It's
How do they
everybody.
avoid that fall? So what are the commonalities that we find pretty much across the board in the first 0 to 3 years?
Oh, yeah. Pricing strategy is a huge one.
Mm.
Everybody's trying to figure out, what is my price point going to be, and am I going to be making enough money to cover the expenses that I have to incur? What are my startup costs going to look like? How do I need to price my products or services to make sure that I'm making enough money to keep money in my pocket and to stay in business? Every small business owner that's starting is thinking about the same thing.
How do
Every
you help them
corporation
define
that's
that?
starting is thinking about this.
How does somebody
So
define
pricing
that?
strategy?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I've got a mini course on discovering what your pricing strategy should be. But there's a few things that you look at. The first thing that you evaluate is personal financial goals. How much money are you trying to make personally
Mm-hmm.
to sustain yourself?
Got it.
What type of bills are you trying to take care of? Because this business is also probably sustaining you, especially for people who want to turn their side hustle into a full-time 9 to 5. So think
Right.
about how much money you need to make to be personally satisfied, savings and all. And then think about how much money is going to take to keep the business operating. So when we start talking about pricing strategy, we have a good idea of what it's going to take to run your daily operations. Do you need a cash register? Do you need a website? Do you need social media ads? How much is your inventory and stuff going to cost? So those expenses weigh into that. So personally, what do you want to make? What do you have to keep business operations flowing? And what expenses do you have to cover? Those are the three main things that we're looking at. And
Okay.
when you think about that, you don't even and I hope that this comes across very loud and clear, because I don't want people to be thinking about this while they're setting their pricing strategy. Do not think or ask yourself, what would a person be willing to pay for this? That's not the question you need to ask. The question you need to ask is, how much value does this convey to someone? Because people will pay for value. People will pay for quality. Affordability is no longer the top determining factor on whether someone will invest in something or not.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use the word buy, you can use the word spend, you can use the word purchase. I like to say invest. And I like to tell my clients to use that language a lot more than they say buy this, buy that, buy now. Sometimes you'll need to use it as a CTA. But when you're speaking directly to your audience, talk
Mm-hmm.
more of an investment, because they're looking for solutions to whatever. And so don't start off by asking yourself the wrong question to ask yourself in the beginning when you're trying to set a pricing strategy. And this is how I teach clients to do it. Don't worry about what you think a client would pay for it, because our perception of money and spending is different from the person that's standing next to us. I
And it's
promise you.
probably also skewed based on what you personally think of your own worth and value,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But and
Yeah.
that's skewed, right? Because we
Yeah.
carry on
That's huge.
because we've talked about this before. I've had amazing guests who've talked about, their self-worth and their values and how
Hmm.
that skews everything else. And because when you
Right.
think about like you think about things that people sell, you're like, they said, who pays that for that? What is it? Did somebody just
Exactly.
pay like $1 billion for a banana stuck to a wall and duct tape? Did you?
Oh my God. Did you see the great duct tape? Mine completely blown, Bettina. I was like, are you serious? But that's how much it means to someone. And so a
Mhm,
bit of coaching I'm going to sprinkle into this is people buy based on emotion. We
mhm.
spend our money based on how we feel about something and whether it immediately resonates or not. And that's why it's so easy to get impulsive buyers to spend. And this is what I tell my clients to be wary of, because especially if you're someone like me who's after purpose and you're really selling a product or service to do the right thing, you have to make sure that we're not taking advantage of people who may be buying on impulse, and that we should be marketing to persuade someone of the solution that they could experience when they buy with us,
Mhm.
but we should not be manipulating in our marketing message to sell something to someone who doesn't need it.
So,
Now, that is a
it's just
very
sticking to
unpopular
value.
opinion, but it's a very unpopular opinion.
How is that popular? Because it's true value. I think one is
Yeah,
a scarcity mindset and it's abundance mindset. So if you have a
thank you. Break
scarcity
it down,
mindset,
Bettina.
yeah, if you have a
Yes.
scarcity mindset, then you need everybody to buy. But if you have an
Yeah.
abundance mindset, you're like, there's enough people out there who need my product, who need my service, who need this, who are willing to pay for it. They're gonna like, yes.
How many gas stations is it in one town? How many nail salons is it in a metropolitan
Wait, are
area?
we
I'm
talking
so
about on a
serious.
corner? There's like four
Yeah, I
corners,
mean,
four
how many
gas stations. Yeah.
on a corner? If you're in the Bible Belt like me, like how many churches is it in within 2 blocks? I'm so serious. Like, there is enough market for everyone. And this is my methodology for teaching it, is that you really don't have to focus so much on competition in the beginning. In your stages of startup, focus on mastering what you know, building out amazing products and services that are going to deliver massive value, and figure out how to attract the right audience. And you will win every single time. I've been teaching it for over 10 years. I promise you, you will win every single time. Now, some of the places where people go in left field and they veer off the path is when they start completely focusing on, oh my gosh, I'm not so sure if people would pay for this. That means you're losing sight of what value that you're carrying, and you're getting desperate for sales, and we start getting off board and we start trying to chase that. And maybe our marketing message isn't in alignment with the right people. And so if we're selling a luxury product, we don't want to potentially be selling to new parents who are going to be investing money in buying diapers, unless they're of a certain demographic. And so those are the types of things that you have to think about when you're first starting up. So I know that was a lot to say pricing strategy for the first thing,
I
but
love
if there
that.
was,
So
yeah,
messaging, like update your messaging, updating your story, updating the how you communicate, how you come across. I love that.
yes,
And that way,
yeah,
and market to the folks who will pay,
right,
who find value in that. They will find, if
exactly.
you bring in value to the table, somebody's going to pay for it.
They're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it. It's just about getting in front of the right people. And it's about you staying focused on what it is that you're really trying to provide. And
And
you have to continue to be adaptable. So there are going to come times when you're going to get feedback from customers where they're saying, I wish this was better. This is not working like I thought it would. I wish it would have delivered more on the back end. Listen to that constructive criticism. And it's not shifting away from your vision. It is just making your products and services adaptable for your market. And so don't think about it as if someone were negatively criticizing what it is that you have, because as entrepreneurs with a vision, we can take that very personal sometimes,
right.
but it's not personal. Those people don't know you personally. They know the product or service that you're selling them.
That's
And
a
so they have
courtesy that
every
they
right to
brought it to
critique it.
you. Right. Because usually they're going to go slam it out
Tell
like to
somebody else.
a million other people. The fact that they're willing to bring it to you, if we're willing to I love that, because we just got to set aside our pride, our ego, and be open to listening, because that's usually what kills us, right? It's like, oh, what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm into my 40s, I will say that. And one thing that I've discovered about myself recently, and I mean like very recently, like within the last couple of years, I've always considered myself a good listener. But what I've learned about myself is that I was not a patient listener. And so I am always trying to move forward to the next thing, to find solutions, to grind it out, to pound it out, to be done with it so I can move on to the next thing, because I'm a very goal oriented person. And so what I've discovered about myself and other goal oriented people is that we may be great listeners, but we may not be patient listeners. And so it may take time for you to understand what someone is saying. You may need to replay it in your head. You may need to go back and study it, do some research on your business, go back and look at some other things that took place within your business. Slowly listen, patiently listen, and try to digest the information that's coming forth to you from your customer base, from stakeholders, from people that you're on podcasts with, because
Mhm.
there's a lot to be digested. There's a lot to be said. And having said a lot, if you can identify with what Bettina and I are talking about, and you identify with how overwhelming this can be, imagine doing all of this stuff on your own without a coach, because
Oh,
that's literally what about 60% of entrepreneurs are out there doing. And that's why 65% of them are not winning. They're failing somewhere within their first 10 years of business, is because they're tackling all of these things that we're discussing on this call by themselves in that rainbow of thoughts before they ever hit the wall, before they ever hit paper, and they don't even discuss them with anybody else outside of themselves. And that's what happens to a lot of entrepreneurs.
or they discuss them with people who don't believe in them, who've not been down that road, who don't understand them, who's going to ugh all the stuff, right?
All
And
the things.
all the things. It's kind of like we're willing, and I see this in parents a lot. Like they're willing to
Mm.
hire a coach for their kids,
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
right? They're willing
One
to pay for a coach to go for their kids
hundred
to go get
percent.
better in Little League, to go and tutor. And they see the value in a coach for their kids. They'll do skills coaching. They'll do all that kind
Yep.
of coaching. We were right. But when it comes to their business, like starting a business or leveling up in a
Yeah.
personal way, like coaching, counseling, therapy. Like I learned this from my coach. They said, and I've had a lot of coaches
Uh huh.
in my lifetime. I believe them. Like they're wonderful
Yeah.
for their seasons, right?
That's right.
Every
That's right.
right. And every time I've ever plateaued, it's been
Mm-hmm.
coaches like you, Cynthia, who just helped me just take it to that next level
Exactly.
because that's what happens is you get on it and you're like, yes, 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 yes. And then you're like,
Uh-huh. Uh-oh.
right? You're like
Like,
basically we dumped out all the puzzles and then we started working on maybe like on some
mm-hmm.
side pieces. And then we're like,
Right.
oh wait, what's next? And
What was I
for
doing?
whatever pride and ego makes us think that we're going to figure it out. But
Yes.
but we're willing to spend $100 an hour, maybe not all, but I know how much like these skills so that our
Right.
kid can learn to be a better this or that versus investing into a coach for ourselves to
Right. For
build a
ourselves.
big business and to impact even more lives.
Exactly. So literally, investing in a coach is investing in yourself. It is really not spending money on me. That is really not what it's about. When I'm talking to potential clients, any leads that I have, it is really in marketing, whether you're on my Facebook page or wherever. I am telling you, like, and I don't know how many people actually believe it because they haven't experienced it, but if you've never worked with any type of coach before in your life, it is exactly like you said, Bettina. You hit plateaus in your life in different areas. So
Yes.
whether you are investing in a life coach, whether you are investing in a small business coach, whether you are investing in a spiritual coach, these people more than likely have been where you are,
Hmm.
and they can help take you to places that you don't even know exist. And they can help you avoid the pitfalls again
Yep.
of falling into traps that you wouldn't even know are there. It's not like the trap has been set for you by society or anything. It just exists,
And
you know?
accelerate and maybe like you can like kind of chug down the road, but
Mm-hmm.
and like maybe slowly pace, but that acceleration. We hired at the beginning of the year an AI coach for us and our team.
Absolutely.
Uh,
That awesome investment.
and I tell people all the time, I'm like, hey, who don't like, you can have AI teach you how to use AI, right?
Right.
You can have like
Mm-hmm.
you can go YouTube videos, or you can just have an AI coach that just comes in and says, "Vroom, this is how you do it."
Just like
Right,
that.
right.
Just
Phil
like that.
Springer was the guy, and man, like just like that, we were up and running. We didn't have to spend willpower. We
Right.
didn't have to put out willpower to figure it out. It doesn't mean that we couldn't figure it out. Is that
Right.
willpower that we would have spent trying to figure it out, we spent
Oh,
somewhere
wow.
else.
It's the definition of working smarter and not harder. Literally, I've heard Myron Butler, a famous small business coach. I heard him on a platform recently that talked about his most valuable asset, which is the most valuable asset that we all have, and that is our time. And he was like, there are so many tasks. I know I'm a smart man and there are so many things that I can figure out how to do. But if I can hire somebody to do it within 5 to 15 minutes versus me taking 2 to 3 hours to do the research and then putting something together that may or may not work and me having to go back and revisit, if I can do that, then I've saved 2 to 3 hours of my time that I can be using to still do productive things.
Right.
And that's the whole definition of smarter and not harder. Not having the fear of investing what you need to invest to get what you need at an accelerated rate. It is one of the biggest cheat codes that you can use to reach success
And
at
also
an
to
accelerated rate is trust other people, lean into other people who have already become masters at it. Don't try to figure out how to chisel the wheel or reinvent it. Go ahead and invest in somebody who knows how to do it. But and outside of that, I would say one of the rebuttals that I get from that a lot are I'm doing this to make money. How on earth am I going to generate money to invest where I need to? And a lot of times it's our perception of spending and where we're actually putting
Mm.
our money. One of the best business coaches
Versus
I worked with
investing.
was last year. Versus investing. You know what I'm saying? One of the best business coaches I
You
invested in
just,
last year,
I
his
was
name was Ben
listening.
Bach.
I was listening to you, Cynthia.
Like,
Yeah. I was listening to you, Cynthia. I heard
you're
you.
on
I
it. You're
heard
on it,
you.
right?
I,
You're soaking it up. When you're soaking it up, we're both sponges right now, and I absolutely love it. We're drawing from each other. So I invested in a business coach last year before I even invested in his program, Ben Bakayoko. Like, it's one of the best coaches I've ever had. I did 9 months. I did a 9-month program with him, and I gladly invested my money in it. Before I even enrolled in his program, Bettina, he actually broke down with me my spending habits on the phone. Like, it made me
ooh.
so uncomfortable. And I'm talking about, we didn't know each other. We had our first call just to, get introduced. Hey, I saw you were interested in what I'm doing. You've been following, and I filled out, I think it was like an interest form or something. So we had the first call and he's like, this is what I offer. This is who I am. If it feels like something that's right for you, if you think I'm the right coach for you, then let's schedule a second call. I did that because I knew. We got on that second call and he started talking to me about my ability to be able to afford his program. Totally threw me off, right? But it was not in a negative way. He was open. He was honest. He was very transparent about the price of his program. And I also had followed him enough to know what type of value he could instill. And I knew I wanted that. So
Mm,
out in my brain, I was already locked in, right? But there
right.
was a part of me that hesitated that said, are you really going to be able to afford this? Do you really want to put this much money into this thing? Do you think it's going to bring you that return? And so he relieved all of those pressures and fears by reviewing with me on an introductory call. How much money are you making? How are you spending that money? Where is it being invested? What type of things do you want to have obtained by the end of this program? And by the time we got done with that call, I realized that, and this is without me verbalizing too much to him, I was already self evaluating and I was going, I'm spending too much money here, spending too much money there. I can pull from here, I can pull from there because I really wanted to make it happen. So, how bad do you want it, right? And really start asking yourself these questions. How bad do I really want this? Do I really want to make a change in my community? Do I really want to make enough money so I can leave this job that's having me feel unfulfilled every single day that I come home? Do I really want to be able to leave a business to my kids so they don't have to work maybe as hard as I used to? But and start thinking about all of those questions in the beginning. And if you're working with a coach like myself, I'm going to be asking you these things, and it's going to seem like I'm really nosy. You're
Yeah.
going to be
Well,
like, oh
do you
my
want,
God.
you kind of need that. That's it. You need that. So
Yeah.
so you have a coach, you also have a community that you've
Yeah.
created. Tell us about the
Yeah.
community and why is it so important for entrepreneurs to be part of community? I can think of a million reasons, but I want to know your reasons.
So really, proximity is power. I will,
Mhm.
I will lead with that. The closer you are to people who are pursuing like-minded people who are pursuing greatness, the more, the better your odds of being successful. And I will use this for an example. Your income and the money you make, whatever revenue you generate, is going to be that of which is close to the 5 closest people in your circle. So if you think about the 5 people that you're closest to, I guarantee you're probably in the same financial bracket because you're following the same habits, you're following the same patterns in life. And so the same goes for entrepreneurship and any other career. If you would think about it like that, you always want to dress for the job you want. You always want to surround yourself with people who are pursuing the things that you want or who have actually achieved some of the things that you want. And so community with like-minded people gives you safe spaces to voice what you're actually experiencing, hopefully without the judgment. Now, I can't say it's completely judgment free zones all the time because we're all entitled to our own perspectives and we all can only see past what we've experienced unless we're somebody who's hell bent on growth. and you're just going to keep moving forward no matter what. There's a very few people out there like that. But the power of community is taking you from, this is one of the experiences that I had in one of my Facebook groups called BYOB. It's exclusive for any entrepreneur at all. Right now it was 2.5 members, 5,000 members a couple of days ago, 2.6 thousand members now. So very happy
Wow.
we grew it to 100 here recently. So here's the thing. This is what community does for you. I had a Mary Kay consultant to join the group. She had not gone live before on social media. She was very hesitant to do it. She was very nervous about it. She posted in the group that it was something she was interested in doing, and the community immediately started forming a circle of support around her and were encouraging her until it literally kind of forced her in my DMs to say, I'm going to schedule a live, and these were free, and I was offering it and telling, okay, entrepreneurs, I'm opening the floor to do a live each week for any entrepreneur that wants to go live, sell their products and services to 2,000 plus members in this group. So she was nervous. She was scared out of her mind, but she felt the fear and she did it anyway. And if she were sitting there on her own trying to decide whether to do that, she would have never done it, or at least it would have taken her forever to decide. So these people in our BYOB community circled around her, encouraged her. She scheduled it. She did an amazing job. I actually went on the live with her so she would not be nervous. And I literally started off just by introducing her. And I was going to say, I'm going to show your product. You're going to talk a little bit about it. That was the format we originally said, right?
Mhm.
We got on that live. I mentioned the first product and it was like I wasn't even there. for,
She's like, thank you.
for
Bye.
like for the next 50 minutes, I'm serious, it was like I was not even there. Long story short, she got views when we were on. Most of the views came after the live was posted in the group, and she completely sold out of product. And
Oh.
she was floored, and she sent me a DM that I never forget because I screenshot it and I've always kept it. And she was, thank you so much for creating a community that embraced me. I didn't think that I was going to be able to do this, but I was able to go on and go forth. And so, and not everybody who watched the live bought something, right? There was actually one lady who was watching from upstate, and she purchased multiple products because she was very interested in what she was having. So it wasn't the fact that community actually gave her financial support, because that isn't always what's needed. Sometimes we just need a nudge and encouragement to tell us it's okay to try it. It's okay to fall on your face and learn a lesson.
Mhm.
Like, that's
To
all
get that
part of the journey. It's
confidence.
all part
Yeah.
of growth. Yeah. So community is confidence. Community is support when you don't think you have it anywhere else. Community is safe space. Community is like-mindedness. Is so much for entrepreneurs when it comes to community that if you left it out, you would be doing yourself a huge injustice. Even if you aren't building your own communities like I have, then
Mhm.
become a part of active communities that share that same like-mindedness and have people in it that are either going where you want to go or they've been where you're trying to get to.
I love that. So coaching, community, those are all like very critical like components, I think,
Yes,
for growth as an entrepreneur, as a person, as a human,
right,
right? Like we all
right.
need that. You also tell me you're a co-founder of a not-for-profit called
Yes,
Raising the Bar.
yes.
Tell
So
us more about that.
raising the bar actually it's a symbol of my lineage. It's how it started. So bar is actually spelled Barr. My family, the maternal side of my family is from South Carolina, and I'm an Ellis, but I married into the Ellis family. If you trace my family back for generations, we were bars. We were a bar. And so I mentioned my sister earlier, who was a very passionate person. She was very funny, but she had a serious she was really purpose driven. She had a serious mission to pull together people within communities that she became a part of, just to make the world a better place. That was it. That was Michelle's mission. Like, she loved people, she loved camaraderie, she loved to make you laugh, but she loved to see other people fulfilling purpose. And so with her passing in 2017, my mother and I decided to co-found a nonprofit organization that could give back. But we had to figure out a way that we can't just, generally just say, we're going to give back. We want to help everybody. It's not the way you run any type of organization. So we had to make it specific to who we were going to help. And since I had a successful coaching business, entrepreneurship really is at the heart of what I do, because I really believe that one entrepreneur can change everything within their community. They can feed their family. They can help provide jobs for a community. They improve the state of economics with where they live. Well, if you change an economy, then you can change a nation. You change nations, then you change the world. So one entrepreneur and one small business, I feel like, has a huge ripple effect on doing that. And so we decided to take that mission and implant it into a nonprofit organization and provide grants, micro grants, training, and mentorship to entrepreneurs who may come from underdeveloped places within the world. Right now, specific to the United States, we're not a global.
Right.
Um,
I love
we're
that.
we're
There's
we're
such a
yeah,
huge
we're not an
need
NGO
here
yet.
in our backyard. Huge need in our
Yeah,
backyard. We don't have
exactly,
it's like in our house, like Mother Teresa says, start in your house and then from there, like you can go to your neighbor. You'll just be amazed
exactly.
the need that we have just around us. We don't need to go like I'm not saying that there's not a need around the world, but I think people sometimes overlook what their neighbors
Yes,
need, right?
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yep, that's the mission of Raising the Bar, is to stimulate economic development by supporting small business and entrepreneurs.
Do you know what I just heard? I just read this earlier today. So there's a
Hmm.
big, I don't want to call out names, but conglomerates, corporate
Uh-huh.
conglomerates, right? Who come
Hmm.
in and one of them, their next mission is to like buy like a local mom and pop plumbing company
Wow.
in a community. Then they buy the next one and the next one and the next one. Once they own all of the plumbing businesses, there's no longer a local plumbing business. Now there's a bit, and now they can raise a price. Their goal is to take out the local mom and pop entrepreneurs, which
Oh my gosh.
yeah, but it's because they can't because it's not easy. And we
Right.
have and I think that what you're doing is so critical and so important that you're
Yes.
empowering everyday people like you and me
Yes.
to feel that they can do it and it's worth
Yeah.
doing. Because
Absolutely.
I know my um had somebody in a family member in our life. She said, I've never seen anybody work so hard to not work so hard. So it's like we work
Hmm.
100 and like maybe 120 hours a week, right?
Right.
But is it really working if it would be your hobby anyways?
Oh my gosh, I never feel like I'm working. I am so serious when I say that. As a business coach, I never feel like I'm working. When I was working in major retail stores, I felt like a cashier. I felt like an assistant manager. I felt like a dental assistant. I felt like a practice manager of a healthcare facility for 15 years. I'm business coaching and I feel like Cynthia
You felt
Ellis.
like you were getting up and going to work and then
Yep.
you felt like you were going home to recover so that you could go back to work again.
And do it again.
And to
And
do
do
it
it
again.
again.
And the thing about
Yes.
being an entrepreneur is like people, I think on the outside, they look at us and they're like, this is like, how could you do that? Like that,
Uh-huh.
like all you do is work. Like I like hearing these comments, like all you do is work. That sounds awful. Or how could you do that? Or do you, and I'm like, well, you work and then you come home to like your hobby to get away from work. Now
Right.
imagine the amount of time, if you invested the same amount of time in your hobby as your work and you put them all together, that's the same amount of time I'm investing,
It's the same thing that I'm investing. It is no different. It is
but it's
no different.
joyful.
It's just a decision on where you decide to invest it. You either going to invest in building someone else's dream for something else, or you invest in your own. And
Hmm.
it's not, don't guilt trip yourself into thinking that, I'm going to be completely selfish and make all this money for myself. That is really not what entrepreneurship is about. Entrepreneurship really is about it is about supporting yourself financially, but it's still more so about what are you contributing to a larger cause to make things better for everyone as a
Well,
whole.
well, that the thing I like about this is that you get compensated for your contributions, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
but you have to be willing to just put in the hours.
That's
You
it.
and
You have to be
and
willing to do
and
it.
and and you don't keep score. Like, we don't like,
Oh,
we can't keep score that, "Oh my gosh, I worked 120 hours this week and I made $10." Well, welcome to starting your own business,
it's
and
not transactional. It
it's
is not
non-transactional,
transactional.
right? And then you go down the road, right? And then down the road, people are like, "How are you just working 10 hours and making this much money?"
Really.
If you would have seen the work that I did in the dark that nobody knew about,
Knew
right?
about. If you would have seen me stand up all night trying to create programs to help someone understand, like a fifth grader, how simple it is to put this stuff together. Like, it is that investment that we make behind the scenes
And
that
remember when you
changes
called me
things.
crazy? Remember when you called me
A
crazy for
comment.
putting in 120 hours for,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Like,
This
I'm
isn't
so serious.
that's so good.
I can't,
And this is why, like, a coach is so critical, because there's time, because there's those people in our lives
mhm.
who have our best interest at heart,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They have a
Yeah.
best interest at heart, but
But
they're not necessarily giving us the best advice for who we are,
no.
because
Yeah.
we're different. You and me, we're different animals.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. It's like,
We're not built the same.
we're not built the same. We're not
We're
going to
not built
function
the
like
same.
each other. Like, I don't know. I think you've been like secretly spying on me or something, because I swear I just did a TikTok about this last week that said, I said the exact same thing. I'm like, there are people in your life, they love you. They want the best for you. They have the best intentions for you. But if
Mhm.
you are not careful, you will be getting remiss advice and you will be led in the wrong direction. And it's not that they're intentionally trying to do it. They want to protect you and they have their idea of what success would look like for you. But it's not your idea of success or what your journey should look like for you. And so
Mhm.
you can easily be steered in the wrong direction by someone that you care about, simply because, you're trying to give space to voices to come in and give you direction. Well, in the absence of a plan, other people's opinions take demand over your decisions. So you can
Ooh.
easily allow someone to decide your fate if you have not taken that rainbow of thoughts out of your head and try to sit down and sort through them with somebody who's going to be unbiased and just listen and give you guided direction, as opposed to someone who just loves you and wants to see you safe. Your
Right.
brain has a built-in safety mechanism.
Oh,
Your mind is going to tell you, let's stay safe, let's stay comfortable. The moment you start taking risks, or the moment that you start getting hesitant and you start getting uneasy about everything. So even your own mind will play tricks on you and say, no, it's safer over here. Let's continue to do this. This diet is kind of hard. I think we're hungry. So let's just eat a snack, let's have
mhm.
this bit of chocolate, this bit of these chips or whatever over here, and we're good. But, in your heart of hearts, I need to stick with the grapes and the protein shakes,
I need to
you
stick with
know,
the plan, because
stick with the
I
plan.
love that. I love what you said. Wait, I wanna go back. You said, in the absence of a plan,
You
other
fall victim to
people's
other people's demands.
oh, I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You will. And they love you and they're just trying to help, right? But if you don't have a plan laid out for yourself, it's going to be so easy for you to digest information coming from all directions, because you're going to be desperate for guidance.
Right.
So,
So it's kinda like, if I'm going down the highway and I say, I wanna get to I'm in Texas, I'm in North Texas, and let's
uh-huh.
say I wanna get to you're in South Carolina?
I'm in North Carolina.
You're in where are you in North Carolina?
I am about an hour from the coast in Columbus County.
Oh my goodness, it is beautiful in North
Yeah, I'm an
Carolina.
I'm an hour from Myrtle Beach. Like, it's nothing for me to jump in my car and go to the beach. I was there last week.
Okay, I wanna come see you, okay? So if I'm gonna
Come on.
for me to do that, I need to make a plan.
You got to make a plan. Yeah.
If I'm really gonna get there, I might wind up in California. Well,
And
or
thank you.
or
Thank
somewhere
you.
else, because especially if I'm in the car with somebody, I'm like, "Hey, where should we go?"
Well,
Right? If I
that's
get in the
it.
car and I ask my kids, "Where should we go?" I promise you, we would not wind up in North Carolina. We're gonna wind up at the local ice cream shop
Absolutely. 100%.
because I did not make a good enough plan.
Right.
Oh, and
Right.
their
So,
demands would come in. I felt all
eh,
of that. I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
yes." And I think that, and that's true though, especially for for I shouldn't say women entrepreneurs, because I find that to be very
Oh,
sexist,
but
but
especially for women. Yes.
because
Yes. Because, yeah.
we will have an idea of what we want, but then our family members, our kids, our spouse, like
Mhm.
they have their own, and we will bend and weave to their plan, or not their
Every
plan,
single
their
time.
demands.
Every single time. And we
And
feel so guilty if we don't. Like we feel entirely guilty if we don't. And so one of the major things that I teach minority women is we have to stop guilt tripping ourselves, because that is a false sense of hope. You know,
mm,
we put all of this, it's weird because it's like we put our faith in our guilt.
we put our faith in our guilt.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say that's not a minority woman thing. That's, I think, like we're just gonna like, I don't think
um,
that minority women get to own that. That is just
I
like,
do all that.
but look,
So
like
here's and yeah, we feel so guilty. It's like we almost glorifying it, right?
we
Because we're raised
glorify
to
in our
believe that I
guilt.
have to, I've got to bend for my kids, like you said, I've got to bend for my spouse. And if you're like me and you get involved and you get in sandwich generation where even your parents are kind of becoming, elderly and need more support, then
Mm,
you have to take time to bend for them also. And so there's a part of us that wants to be superwoman, and we want to gear up with the cape and say, yes, I did this. I was here every moment for my husband. I was here every single moment for my kids. I was here every single moment for my parents. And the cup is empty. It is
mm.
empty. There's nothing dripping from your cup at all. But we love that because other women tend to praise that when they see it. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
she's so tired. She's been taken care of. She's always there for her husband. She's always there for her kids. And we want that praise. And so what we take that guilt and we just internalize it and we use it as a trophy. We start glorifying in it. And so we use that guilt as a pedestal to say, oh my gosh, I'm invested in all of these things, until you get like me one day and you become old enough to start realizing, what have I done for myself? What type of investments have I made for me that I can enjoy in the future? Have I really worked on a marriage that I can enjoy when my kids even leave the house, because they're not going to be with me forever? Have I raised children that are going to be grateful for life once they get out into the world and I'm not there to protect them from everything in it? Like, what have I actually invested here over these years? And so we get back to that big word. That's a huge word again. The investment of what have I actually put forth into my future. Because I
yeah.
promised you, when you lie down, is you may have someone lying next to you, but you're in your own head the entire time. So you're living with you. You're going to
Mm.
be living with you for your entire life. You may not be with anyone else for your entire life, but you will always live with you. And so, how are you going to live with you for your entire life?
But you're not a and here's what's so interesting. I think we see women do this, like they give, but they're not the best. They don't allow themselves to be the best version of themselves because
Yeah,
their cup is empty. And you
yeah,
cannot be the best version of yourself when your cup
you
is
can't.
empty. And
You just can't.
having that, being aware of that.
Mhm.
And this is where,
Yep.
like, having that other person in your life, and a lot of times we pay for it. Like, we might have a good
Yes.
friend, but that good friend will, they side with you. They're like, yeah,
Oh, oh,
go,
yeah.
you can
Yeah.
do it, you're doing a great job, go, go, go. A coach will say, girl,
Stop doing that.
what you,
Uh huh.
right,
What are you doing?
what's that
Hmm.
is not part of the plan.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's what we do as coaches. That's what we get you to look at things from an outside lens. You really have to take a different type of perspective. And it really takes the right coach to do that for you, because you have to be doing things simultaneously. So I'm going to be giving you exercises that are going to ask you to self-reflect, while I'm also going to give you exercises that will force you to step out of that reflection and
What
say,
what are some
if I were in a,
exercises before we go too far
Mhm.
forward, what are some exercises to self-reflect, to bring
Oh,
awareness? Because I feel like once you become aware, right?
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
for some
Awareness is
of us, we're
everything.
like, "Oh shit, I'm aware. Now what?" But at least we're aware, right? At least like the first
Aware.
what is the first step of the 12 step is like the first step is admitting that there's a problem. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
admitting there's a problem, but being aware that there is a problem, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So what
So
is that exercise like? Tell me, what's that exercise like? I'm curious.
it's my idea inventory method. I call it the idea inventory method, where you are, and what we're doing when we're doing this is we're studying emotional intelligence, right? And so there are certain questions, certain scenarios. I get you to actually, the first thing I tell you to do is go purchase a notebook if you don't already have one. And I recommend them to purchase. I'm like, you can go to the dollar store and get one of these super fancy and cute notebooks, make it all your own.
This is
Yes, have
mine.
you enjoyed?
I,
Yes,
this is
we're
mine. I
going
love this
to
because it flips like this. I
thank you.
have this, and then like this is my system. Once I finish that note, I put the subject and the date on this page. So like
Love it.
so sometimes there's several pages, and I just clump them all together. If I
Yes.
ever need to go back and review, but
So
literally,
look, that and it really is going to feel like journaling, right? It's going to
mhm.
feel like journaling in the beginning, because one of the things that I have you do is write a letter to yourself. And you're going to read that letter once we get complete, once the program is done. So after 90 days and we work together in this program, I want you to hide that letter from yourself until the program is complete, and then you're going to read it again. I actually did this with a client about 2 weeks ago, and she was in tears when
Oh,
she read the letter that she had written to herself, because she had written about 15 things that she wanted to accomplish in it, where she accomplished 12 of them, and she had no
mm.
idea that she had made that much progress in just 3 months with us
So
working together.
So in that letter that you write to yourself, there's a
Mm-hmm.
formula in that letter. So you're writing to your future self in your 90
We're
day
right
self.
into your future self. Yes. And not only does it include goals, but in that letter, there are 5 things. And I don't know if I can remember the top of the 5 topics that go in that letter, but one of them is definitely, what is your state of mind right now? Another one is, where would you like to be when this program is over?
Mhm.
And then it's list at least 15 to 20 things that you would like to accomplish by the end of this program. And then there are 2 more things on there that you're supposed to listen. I can't remember what those are, but the letter pretty much all encompasses, this has been my experience up to this point. This is why I decided to invest in this program. Here's what I want to accomplish by the end of it. And when they read it at the end, I think the last part of it is, what is something encouraging that you would like to say to yourself? Or what would be one reason why you don't think you would have completed this program, or something like that. And it was when
Mm.
she reached that part and how she spoke to herself. Like, she was like, this isn't you saying this to me. This is me saying this to me. I'm like, right. I had nothing to do with what you wrote in that letter to yourself. So it's all you. So that's one piece of it. And then the emotional intelligence piece. There are about 6, because the program is 6 secrets to becoming a highly paid businesswoman. So the assignments that I give you are usually like in 6 parts. So there's another one of the parts that talks about emotional intelligence, how you react, how you respond. Give me an example of a scenario where you felt like you did a great job. Now, give me an example where you felt like you did a poor job. Why do you feel that way? What are the most important areas here where you need to grow? And then we go through like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We go through the Pareto principle. We go through a lot of different steps and strategies to
So
point out, here.
let's go to the hierarchy of needs. That is the basic. I love this. I haven't talked about this in a long
Uh-huh.
time. Remind us what that is again.
So Maslow's hierarchy of needs really is describing to us how we respond to our basic needs versus things that we don't necessarily find on our food chain per se. So on the lower levels, the most basic needs that we have are things like food, shelter, and water. Well,
Mhm.
now when we get higher up in that ladder, we start thinking about things like safety, security, and then there's financial security and money. And so making sure your basic needs are met first. And what I find is a lot of women do not feel like their basic needs are being met. And
Yeah.
so they can never get like to the third, even the third, the second or third steps on that ladder. And God knows they don't even fathom what's at the top because they're struggling trying to get to 2 and 3 because they don't feel safe. They feel like they're scrambling paycheck to paycheck to get to the next meal. They're worried about NSF fees hitting the bank when they can't have drafts to make payments for bills and things like that. And so we are really addressing what's at the bottom of that hierarchy of needs first,
Mhm.
because once you feel like your basic needs are being met, then that's going to free you up mentally to give you the confidence to say, okay, now I can actually think about setting a price and running a business because I
Right.
understand that I'm going to be able to eat, I'm going to be able to sleep, I'm going to feel safe. So we address all of these things in the coaching program, but that's
I love
what
that.
I
It's
really love
going
about
from
that hierarchy of needs.
survival mode to thriving. So from survive to thrive. And I
Yeah,
love that. It's because that is true. If you're worried about getting food or shelter or just feeling safe,
right.
that'll be your mantra. That'll be your obsession.
That's it. That's it. And it's a complete mental block. And I discover a lot of this when I go through a qualifying process. And so, with the people, before you enter my group coaching programs or you coach with me one on one, we go through what I call a qualifier. And part of that is a questionnaire to kind of gauge where your thought process is. What do you feel like your biggest challenges are some of the questions. And you answer these questions before you schedule our call, our discovery call. So by
Mhm.
the time we get on the call, I've read a little bit about you. I understand a little bit about you. And now let's talk about what's actually happening and what's bringing those kind of thoughts out of you and the ways that you think, what's making you steer in that direction. Why do you feel like you're wired like that? And how does starting a business fit into this picture with you? You know, how are you going to be able to focus on this
Yeah.
and make this money and impact these people and do this if you're kind of falling apart at the seams?
I
And
love
that's got
that.
to be addressed before.
Yeah, I love that because otherwise you're gonna sabotage your success. If
Absolutely.
you don't handle that up front, like how you react because of the baggage that you decided to carry with you because somebody in 2nd grade said something, because your
Oh,
household was a certain way, because somebody spoke to you a certain because you learned this way to survive,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because you learn this way to survive, if you don't figure out how to take that baggage, unpack it, and leave it behind you, you can't move
You're going to carry
forward.
it with you every
You
time. You're going to carry
no,
it with you every time. And a lot of people look at these statistics. Oh, the 65% of businesses are failing. Well, they can't get funding. They can't do this. They don't market correctly. It's stemming from somewhere.
it's
Typically, it's stemming
some
from
kind of
somewhere,
trauma that they
something
decided to
deeper.
carry. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It happens so much to entrepreneurs, and people are looking at it as this, if it's just business. And it's really not. It's really not. I equate entrepreneurship to anything in your life that would change everything that you're doing. Like I often say, people say a baby changes everything. A couple of things that people don't say that are true is the loss of someone really close to you also changes everything.
mhm.
Major life decisions change everything. So starting a business is going to change everything because it's going to impact how much time you're spending with certain individuals. It's going to impact the financial decisions that you're making. It's going to impact your energy levels and how you manage your time throughout the day. It's going to impact everything. So
Having
you
a
have
business
to
is
be,
like birthing a child
it's
and
like
raising a
birthing a
child.
child. Like, yeah, like
Yeah,
birthing and raising it. Like it's this new idea that you had. You know, it was in your heart. You were holding it close, and you want to make it real. Okay, now it's tangible and it's here. You've got to do bookkeeping. You got to make sure your marketing's caught up. You got to make sure that you're able to spend enough time with your clients, that you're responsive to your customers. And you may be able to outsource those things and grow into automation. So, like you said, you can be making all that money only working 10 or so hours a week, but it doesn't start off like that. It doesn't start off like
It
that for
doesn't ever start.
anybody. That's not anybody's day one.
Yeah, well, I heard Elon Musk, they were talking about during that time when he was really, really struggling, right? Between
Yeah.
I think his SpaceX and Tesla.
Uh-huh.
And he was
Yep.
like, they're both of my babies. And he couldn't they're like, the logical decision was to
Right.
get rid of one so that the other baby could survive. Right?
Yeah.
Is to
Right.
sacrifice one baby so the other
One
baby could survive, and he's
to
like,
survive.
"They're like my baby. I can't do that."
Oh
Right?
my gosh.
I cannot sacrifice my baby, and he was obsessed with his
Yeah.
babies, right? He was
Yeah.
literally he slept it, he invested, he went all in on his babies to where if those babies didn't survive, one of those babies didn't survive, he would lose it all,
Yeah.
right?
And that's really how you feel. Like, if this does not work, like, I'm going to lose it. Like, if this doesn't work, I'm going to lose it. People who are really serious about entrepreneurship, and this is usually the type of person that I end up working with, it may take them longer than they thought. They may come across all kinds of things because one thing I like to say is life is always lifing, right? Life is going to do its thing. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have good, you're going to have bad. But as long as you stick to the plan, you will eventually be okay. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, like, I've never seen a person who really had a desire to have something work that was near and dear to their heart. I have not seen that person fail. And failure is giving up, not trying again at all, just not even thinking about it, approaching it. You just leaving it completely behind, leaving that idea
Mhm.
completely behind. People who are really serious about entrepreneurship, you typically will not see them in a state of, I completely give up, failure. It'll be some passing feelings that'll be like, oh my God,
Mhm.
this is hard. Do I want to keep going? But it won't be like, I'm not going to share this idea anymore. I'm not going to pursue this idea anymore. You won't hear them say that. You
Right.
will not hear them say that they're going to abandon their vision. You won't hear
Because
people,
the
you won't hear passionate
alternative
people
is
say
to
that.
get a job, right? And there's nothing wrong with the job, right? It's just
Nothing
that
wrong
we're
with it.
built different. Like the folks who do entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
and this is where my in-law, she's like, I've never seen anybody work so hard to not work,
To
right?
not,
Like I have my friends, they go to work at 9, they're done at 5. They're like 9 to
yeah,
5, they get weekends off. Thursday morning, was Thanksgiving morning. Thanksgiving
uh-huh,
morning, I had a Zoom appointment with
yeah.
the client. Like,
And it didn't bother you at all, did it?
I just put it in the schedule. I made it part of the plan,
It's
girl.
part of the
It became
plan.
part of the plan, but that's what you do when it's
Yeah,
a bigger vision. And like, we just made it happen,
that's
right?
it.
And
That's
we
it.
still work Thanksgiving Day. I've worked Christmas, and there's people that say, "Oh, well, you should have that work-life balance thing." And I'm like, it is that my work is my life. My life is my work. Um,
And look, if that's how you see it, that's how you choose to pursue it. It is perfectly fine. And people don't understand that. Like, everyone, it's like we said
but I
earlier,
get to choose
everyone
it.
will have something to say about your journey. Like, I
Mhm.
swear they will. Everyone will have something to say about your journey, about how you invest your time, about how you find your clients. And some of these people have never run a business before. They've never had a desire to run a business or work on their own, and
And
they
they're
will
low risk.
feel free, and they're low risk, and they will feel free to offload their opinions on you.
Mhm.
And you
And
have to
it's
be the
true.
person to say, okay, that's my boundary,
Right.
you know?
And it's true. It's like, I'm not going to climb Mount Everest.
You know?
I'm not going to climb. I have no peace in my heart that wants to climb Mount Everest, but there are people that do every day. They're up and down that mountain, do, up and down
Every
that Mount
single day.
Everest mountain. And those people also, they get up that mountain, they get down that mountain, and they're so grateful that they did. They train for it, they work hard, they risk, they do all the things to get up and down that mountain. And they had
Right.
people in their lives that told them, don't do it, don't do it, and don't do it.
Don't do it.
But after they're down and they say, hey, I've climbed Mount Everest, everybody's like, whoa, you did
Yay!
what? Wow, that's
Like,
amazing. But all the training, all the investment, all the money that they spent to get up and down Mount Everest,
right.
everybody thought they were crazy before
You're
they did it.
crazy. Right. You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. And so,
And the souls who
there are
passed on Mount Everest,
so
they're
many
like, well, they knew what they were getting into, right?
into, yep, it goes both ways.
It
It
goes both
goes both
ways.
ways. And it just makes you wonder, with some of those individuals, would they have gone through it again? Would they have tried again? If they had the ability to come back and try again to see if they could be successful, I think a lot of them would.
I think most of them
And
would.
and
They knew what they were
yeah,
getting into, getting into
exactly.
it.
Exactly. It's like you have a knowledge of, it's the awareness that we talked about, right?
Mhm,
So there's awareness, there's understanding, and then there's wisdom or
mhm.
application, like I like to call it. So once you become knowledgeable of something and you know that it's present and it's just like a vision that's inside of you, it's like that calling that you wake up thinking about it, you go to bed thinking about it, you're thinking about it throughout the day, you're trying to figure out how I can make it happen. It's that thing, is the awareness of knowing that that's there.
So
Okay, so
here's
then we have to take some understanding and say, hey, now that I know that it's there, what am I going to do with it? And
so
then you got to use some application and put it
put it to
somewhere,
work.
put it to work.
But I want
Yeah.
to go back to what we had talked about earlier about the guilt, right? So like those folks who went
Oh
on
yeah.
Mount Everest, if it was a mom who
Mm-hmm.
was raising young children, right?
Mm.
She would be guilted and saying that is selfish for
Right.
risking your life to go up and down
Right.
to try to do this. The time and energy that it took to train, the time, like all the things that you took away from your
Right.
family, which is supposed to be your primary duty, right?
Mm.
And we were talking earlier about glorified guilt.
Glorified guilt. I'm
So
telling you.
how, like, how does like, since minority women is your niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you help somebody get past that personal guilt of, because when you go out there and you put yourself out there and you give up like maybe that secure 9 to 5 job, and
Mm-hmm.
you're the one that's supporting the family, or you're keeping that 9 to 5 job, but in order to start a business you're working again from 5 to midnight and 6 to
Midnight.
9 in the morning to get that other business started while you're doing
Yeah.
that. How do you get past that personal guilt? Because usually, like, you understand why, but the reason you're doing it is for the people or the who's that are being impacted
Yeah.
while you're doing it. And they're the reasons you're fighting for this. And I'm just thinking as a mom, like this is
Mm-hmm.
our battle. Like we're doing
Oh
this for our
yeah.
children. We're doing this for our parents. We're doing this for our spouse. We're doing this for us. But
Mm-hmm.
for us to do that, we're taking away from our children. We're taking away from our parents. We're taking away from our spouse.
You are. You are. And I think the first thing that we have to do, and this is the way that I like to approach it, right? The first thing you have to do is to admit that that's a fact, because that's not, it's not a stretch of the imagination.
Always goes back
You
to
have
step
to
one.
own, you have to be okay with, I'm going to be taking time away from my spouse. I'm going to be taking time away from my kids or whatever, my extended family, whatever. You have to come to grips with that first. And you have to realize that that's true, because a lot of women want to walk into it blindly and say, that's not going to happen. That's not going to really happen. And if you walk into that, like you're already lying to yourself. So we can't begin the journey based on a lie. So the first thing that we admit is we have to recognize this is going to this is going to require sacrifice in some areas. Am I willing to? And this is the question that they have to initially answer. Am I willing to make those sacrifices to build something that is going to be beneficial to everyone in the end?
Mhm.
And I always give a personal testimony behind that. So I have done just that. And being an entrepreneur since 2013, part of my journey was when I first started the business in 2013. I was very happy. I was very excited about it, and I was very proud of it. I really was only starting it to supplement my income. I needed money to pay bills. My children were younger, and we were struggling living paycheck to paycheck as a young couple with two young girls. And so I wanted to do something to supplement the income. Well, it got really serious, and I found out that it was a lot of me feeling like I was more fulfilled than working at 9 to 5. Well, let's see, that was 2013. So fast forward about 5 years to 2018, we had a major hurricane hit. And I was doing really good with the business and everything. So I decided to go, and this was about a year before that. So maybe about 2017, I went down to part-time status on my 9 to 5 because I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, let's get a little bit more serious. If it continues to do well, I can go ahead and push forward and leave the 9 to 5 together. Well, the clients did great, and then the storm hit in 2018.
Mm.
And my 9 to 5 came to me and said, we will be willing to give you a promotion and a nice raise if you would come back on full time and take on this new role because we need this role filled. Some things have changed. I saw it as security because I didn't know what was going to happen after the storm. And so it was like, so I decided to, okay, I will push this business, I'll push this entrepreneurship on the back burner to take care of family, which I thought was settling in for a steady paycheck on every
It
two
was
weeks,
surviving. You went back to
with those
surviving.
benefits. Yes, it's surviving.
Food,
Now I
shelter,
was making
food,
that,
shelter, and
mind you. I was
safety. Yeah.
you. That's where my mind was, right? Safety mechanism automatically switches on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, leave this entrepreneurship behind. It could get questionable. At the time I was making that money. So I was doing it on my own, but it was about the safety and the consistency of, can I keep doing this? Because first couple of years of my business, I came out as a loss. I came out in the red.
Mm-hmm.
About the third year, I broke even. Next 2 years after that, like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm in the black. I'm making money. So I was making it, but it was just something about the security of that check coming every 2 weeks
And
that didn't
it's
require
like
me.
that's a tipping point too. 5 years
That's
is
it.
like if that's a
That's
tipping
it.
point. Oh
That's
man.
the crossroads. That's the
Right.
crossroads right there. And you decide. So I have been in a place where I've decided to take a step back from entrepreneurship, take that giant step back, go back into corporate, secure the job. Now, mind you, I still decided to run my business alongside that 9 to 5. So I took on that role with more responsibilities, but I
Mm.
still was running my business on the side. So 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., I'm working a full-time job. And truth be told, I can't always focus on that full-time job because I've got this burning desire to help these clients and I love what I'm doing. So I'm sneaking and doing stuff during the day sometimes for the
Yep.
side business. Let's be real about it because we're doing it. Y'all, I know anybody who's watching this video and you're trying to be an entrepreneur, I know you're doing this. I know you are. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'd sneak and do stuff throughout the day. Well, then 5 o'clock, I'm off. I'm having the client scheduled at 5:15. So I
Right.
would literally stay in my office at my desk sometimes from 5:15 to 8 p.m. on calls, serving clients that I couldn't serve throughout the day, apologizing, getting things done and whatever. And so I sacrificed a lot of time those 5 years in my business. What I did during those 5 years in my business, and the last two were probably the most challenging. But those first 3 years that I was really working my 9 to 5, really, really working my 9 to 5, along with my business on the side, I had to my relationship with my husband completely morphed. It completely morphed because we had conversations about, this is why I'm preoccupied so much. This is why this is happening. It challenged us. It pushed us to the limit. Like, it pushed
Mm-hmm.
us to the brink. And we had to sit down and have very real discussions about, what is this investment going to be? What is it looking like? Cindy, you look like you're tired. I need you to rest. Like, I need you to stop. I need you to not be stressing so much. We need more dates. We need this. We need
Yeah.
that. And
He
I
missed
was,
you.
he missed me, and I had to be open and willing to listen to that, because in a sense you could call it selfishness, but honestly, if you're starting a business, it changes everything. So you got to understand, you are changing. You are
Mhm.
changing.
So
That's
when you
okay.
so it sounds like
Own
you
it.
have to have the business plan and a household plan so that
You gotta have it. It's
you know
all encompassing, right? It's and I will say it again. Entrepreneurship is not just business.
it's not.
It is
It's
life.
all
It is changing
encompassing.
your lifestyle. It's changing your lifestyle. So our marriage changed for the better because we learned how to be more open and honest and transparent with each other
Mhm.
about what we were experiencing. We didn't at first know how to articulate it, opened up to counseling and started figuring out how we can communicate even better to understand where we are in this process.
Without
I was
guilt.
very without guilt, right? And
Without
just
guilt.
being like I'm here. I heard a counselor say, and not ours, but I heard another counselor say, is I would rather you be transparent with me than honest with me. I
I'd
value
rather you
transparency over honesty. And her
explain that.
explanation
Explain what
for
that
it,
means
so
because
her explanation for that was this, is that, okay, the truth is I was out eating dinner. If I call you and ask you where you are, I'm out eating dinner and there's a woman here, right? Transparency is before the dinner even comes up. Hey, babe, I've got dinner set up with this person, this person, this person. These are the people who's going to be in the room. That's transparency. So
ah,
truth and honesty may be me finding out in the moment, but transparency is proactiveness, is taking that step forward for your significant other, for your spouse, for your children. It is becoming a better person at prioritizing, organizing, and managing so that you can have effective communication with the people that you love about what you're doing. And
I
once I
love
started
that.
learning how to be open with my husband, with my kids about, here's the money that this business is generating. Here's what this business is paying for. Here are the bills that are covered. Here's what we are now able to do because of this. And here is my contingency plan. Like, here's my plan for what's going to happen. And this is what it came down to. I literally told my husband, I'm going to work this 9 to 5 for X amount of years, so for so many more years. And then my plan is to step into full-time entrepreneurship. Here's the money that I want to help this family make. Here's how I'm going to do that. And it took
Mhm.
a lot of us talking through that. And then I went to my job and finally said, okay, you guys have 2 years. After 2 years, I'm out of here. Here's my 2 year succession plan. This is what I want to build in this organization. I want to raise people up to take my position so you can promote them before I leave or when I'm gone, whatever you would like to do. But you got 2 years to work with me and then I'm out because this is my plan. And I'm telling my kids the same thing. So I was able to plan and have,
You built
I
that
didn't, my
community
plan
of
was not
support.
absent.
Yeah, now because you were transparent, you built a
Yes,
community who supported the plan.
that's it.
Eh,
It all works in tandem. It really all works in tandem. And so I teach my clients, and it was minority women is one of my niches. They're one of my precious groups. And that this is the way I teach them. I teach them by first understanding, why is it that you want what you want? Own the fact and be ready to make sacrifices because it is going to cost you that. It's going to cost you that. If you have something that's near and dear to your heart that you want to see stay, you want it to grow, you still want your relationships to flourish, you want to have a good relationship with your kids, then you better be a darn good planner and you better be an honest person and learn how to be transparent with what you're doing. And don't immediately take things personal. Don't take offense when your family, your loved ones, your friends start speaking up and saying, hey, I don't see you. Hey, you're not involved. But you already have to have in your mind, this friendship is something that I want to stay. Or I
mhm.
think this friendship needs to fall off because this person they don't wish me well. You
Don't be
know,
offended
that
that they're speaking the truth.
don't be offended when people speak the truth to you. I'm like, don't take it personal. Maya
It's not
Angelou, I
yeah,
swear to God, the first time
yeah,
they show you who they are, believe them. It's
right.
not personal. It's just the fact that they're showing you who they are, what their boundaries are. You just need to know who you are and what your boundaries are. And a lot of times with women, that's what's missing. So let's identify those things and then we can begin working on your future. But that's how you really make a transition that huge. Brace yourself for a lifestyle change because it's getting ready to get rocky. But you're
Right.
gonna make it. You're
Well,
gonna make it.
they say your personality changes during major life events.
Oh, big time.
You graduate high school, you go to college, you graduate college. Those are major life events, right? You get
Yep.
engaged, you get married, you have a baby, and you said it, you start a business. And
You
our
start a business.
business, and I heard this, like our business grows as much as we grow.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and
It's
I
the
love,
truth.
and it's so true, and that's why we do what we do, and that's why we incorporate the coaching, the counseling, the studying, the emotional intelligence is so that the
Right.
business can grow. And I love that you incorporate every aspect to grow the person holistically
Yes.
inside, because that's what it's going to take. Because
Yeah.
you can't bring your old habits that they
You
taught you in
can't.
school, because they don't
You
teach
can't.
this in school. They don't teach this
Mm-mm.
level of tenacity and following your dreams and your passion and all that. So
No.
we're about I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I appreciate all the time that you have gifted us. What a treat.
Oh.
Is there anything that we may not have covered that you're like, shoot, I wish we would have talked about this. If Bettina would have only asked me this.
Well, I'd have to say I have enjoyed this interview so much. There's nothing burning within me that I don't think that I haven't already shared. Usually, my main topics are really make sure you have that self awareness and you're prepared to make this change, because starting a business is a lifestyle change. That your loved ones that you're surrounded with and your family, being surrounded by the right people is most important, but having them involved in your growth and your transition is super important. And then having your thoughts move into actual strategies that are actionable, things that you can do, making things tangible and getting things out of your head, because whether it's good or it's bad, if it's in your head, it never existed. It's not real until you actually put action on it. And so I think that's one of the most important things. And you mentioned that earlier, like when we first started, you said, it's all in your head. It literally is, whether you think you can or you think you can't. I think it was Henry Ford who said it. You're right.
Mhm.
Whatever that thought process is, you're right. So just remember that at the end of the day. I'm very grateful for the time. I have enjoyed it. Like I'm speechless right now because I've had so much fun on this interview.
Aw,
And I wish you all the best,
thank you.
Bettina, in sharing this platform and having people present their overflow, because I have really overflowed on this call and I have enjoyed it so much. I pray that it's a blessing to many, and I pray that your platform will continue to be blessed and grow as well.
Oh, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, Cynthia. We have learned a lot. I have learned a lot, and I know like the folks that are listening have learned so much.